Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Kathy Corum. I'm the Deputy Director for the St. Paul Parks and Recreation Department, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and to get things started. This is a great day for the North End and for teens across the city. We are about to open our second recreational space in St. Paul designed specifically for teens. The North End Teen Center is an excellent example of a reuse. Previously, we had some staff offices out here, and we had it underutilized, and we can't be more pleased that we're going to use it for a purpose as important as serving young people. Creating friendly spaces has been a vision of the St. Paul Youth Commission since its inception. We opened one called The Canvas at the Hancock Recreation Center a couple of years ago, and are excited to get this one up and running. There are a few people that I need to thank this morning as we get started. First, to Councilmember Helgen and Mayor Coleman for their continued support of young people. I also want to acknowledge Barb Morin from our real estate division. Barb was the project manager on this project. I'd like us to give her a hand. Also not here is Joe Bazicki, our building trade supervisor. Joe's always great about working with our contractors and making sure that our buildings are well taken care of when they open. I'd like to acknowledge Mary Margaret Sullivan over at the Rice Street Library and her staff. Mary Margaret, I think, is on vacation today, but some of our other colleagues from the libraries are here. Mary Margaret hosted a number of meetings with a group that was working on issues around youth for the last probably 2 years or so on Rice Street. I know some of those folks are here this morning. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge Megan Mueller and our Youth Commission. This was our first design team in Parks and Recreation that was entirely led by youth. A couple of our youth commissioners are here this morning. They're going to help us with the ribbon cutting. But they made all the decisions that you see inside around color and space and floor coverings and furniture. So it was great. I hope that they enjoy the fruits of their labor for years to come. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of the great advocates for young people in St. Paul, Mayor Chris Coleman.
Councilmember Helgen, congratulations for your persistence on this effort and everybody that was engaged in getting this center up and running. It really is. I just got a chance to tour it. It's a beautiful center. It's great because it really is kind of driven by teens, driven by kind of what they want, the kind of how they use space, what type of activities that they would be looking to do. It's not about what I think is a good idea or what somebody else might think is a good idea. It's really about teen-driven kind of activities and spaces and just getting people, how do we draw kids into this center? I know that every kid that's coming into that center is a kid that I don't have to worry about. It's not that they can't get in trouble because that's what kids do. I think that they're predisposed to occasionally, try to test the limits and all of those things. But if they're coming here, if they're coming into the center, if they're participating in activities, I know that there's a much more likely chance that they're going to stay in school, they're going to graduate on time, they're going to go to college, just because they're engaged, they feel like they have some ownership, they feel like they are part of the process, that they're making decisions about their own life, not just having decisions made for them, and they are actively choosing to be engaged in positive activity. So congratulations that we are finally opening up the center. I know that it had a lot of stops and starts. It wouldn't have been possible but for the persistence of a lot of folks, not the least of which is a council member from Ward 5 who has worked very, very hard to keep this project going and today gets a lot of the credit for being here. Lee Helgen. Lee?
Well, thank you, Mayor Coleman. I really appreciate that, and we really appreciate your leadership around youth and out-of-school time activities and really making that a high priority for the city. It's clear that it matters when you engage community thoughtfully and respectfully around how do we bring youth to the table? How do we make them part of the discussion? How do we get them bought in? And I think this project is a great example of that. But as we reflect back on the need in the community here for a space where the kids could just kind of hang out, a place to be, and kind of the different ideas we had about how do we have the inventory of buildings, what works, what wouldn't work, how do we have some space that's not just a gym where they could really feel like they could just kind of do what kids want to do, hang out, talk, play games, be on the computer. We saw some issues when they were trying to use the library as that kind of space, and the Rice Street Library, while it's a wonderful facility, couldn't necessarily handle the volume of kids doing what they wanted to do, and the rec center was packed with kids. So we explored a variety of options, some which were good, some maybe which weren't so great, but when we were able to settle on this space and really work through it, I think that was a wonderful thing. I also want to really thank our folks who had stuck with our youth planning through the Wakanja project. I see Grit, you're here. Thank you for doing that. Karen Cole-Peterson, who is here, I thank you for doing that. Kathy Corum, I think, just gets a tremendous amount of thanks for her persistence and effort to make this happen. Carrie Antrim and our friends at District 6, she's over here. We just had a great group of people who stuck with this idea of trying to find some way to make a safe, peaceful place for kids to be involved. And out of those discussions, one of the things that was also really exciting is we looked at the space around here and thought this might be a great spot for some public art. And so we have some great public art over there that is also interactive and involved lots of youth to be involved. And we have our artist, Lourdes Quay, who is here, and our friends from Public Art St. Paul, Christine Potus Larson. And it really is wonderful when all of these ideas actually see results happen. So it's not just people sitting around the table talking, but it really is a result of action. And I also want to thank our community leaders in the Business Association for their support of making sure that we find safe places for kids to be involved. With that, I think my job is next to invite Christine and Lourdes to come up here and talk about the Public Art Project and how that fits in with youth being involved.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Lourdes Quay, and I'm an artist of Public Art St. Paul. I would like to congratulate the second youth center. I had the pleasure to collaborate with the first one 2 years ago, and we had a wonderful summer, practically 5 months of different workshops and ideas that ended up with the public triptych of endangered species. The endangered species project is part of a place to be. Public Art St. Paul and we were invited to participate with the first youth center to create it. 2 years later, I'm happy that it's still there, and I'm talking actually here to make sure that it's gonna stick around for a while. Little by little, and after a really rough winter, the creatures are beginning to be alive again. The bear is almost out of hibernation, and I would like to thank the people involved for this to be possible this summer or this early spring. Mr. James Banks was very welcoming and very supporting of these creatures to be back together. Also Bob, of course Lee, District 6, St. Paul Parks and Recreation, incredible help, a wonderful woman, Christine Potus Larson, that enables us to enjoy new ideas in public art. We have, I want to make it very brief, we have a sign-up table that Ashley is taking care of. We have already names and phone numbers, very energetic community, neighbors, very energetic and enthusiastic teachers like Miss Musgrave. Frederica, where are you? She's been helping a lot. I've been working here for the last 3-4 weeks. She's been bringing students, science teachers, literature teachers. They've been under the trees writing essays about the creatures, about nature. We've been talking and exchanging ideas about seasons, the understanding of different seasons, the understanding of the importance to integrate youth in participating in taking care of our urban landscape. We have a lot of names already, and I invite you please to sign up and help us take care of this work of art that is ours, that is the community. Thank you very much.
In closing, I'd like to thank you all again for being here today to help us get the Teen Center open. For those of you who can stick around for a few minutes and take a look if you haven't already, we invite you to do that. Some of the young people are here that will show us how these spaces can be used. Tracy Yu, who's here and will be doing some cooking classes with us this summer, has some food samples, so you're welcome to enjoy those. And before we get all the fun started, we have one order of business yet to complete. So a couple of our youth commissioners are right at the front door. I'll ask Councilmember Helgen and Mayor Coleman and our Recreation Services Manager, Gwen Peterson, to get that ribbon cut, and we'll get the Teen Center open. Thanks again.